Hey, Gina Horkey here from Horkey HandBook. Undermuscle.com is where my website is. That needs a little copy update based on what I'm working on right now. But things are clicking in the right direction as far as the direction that I'm taking my own health personally, this experiment around GLP-1's, as well as training clients. Thanks for being with me again, Jason. Do you want to share anything about yourself? You're this interviewer guy.
I I don't know that there's much to share.
There's a
Just
lot to share. So we're friends from 2017. We met from a digital marketing conference hosted by Lead Pages, and you're interested in all things online business and have like a super great backstory of entrepreneurship, and you've been very successful in multiple industries. Anything else that they should know?
yeah, that's about it. Just I was intrigued. I was looking to grow. I was curious about people and their stories and where things can go. And that's why this story is so exciting.
Humble, selfless, love support into others, mentor. I mean, I would add those things to the list. So, anyways, just wanted to give you some kudos this morning as we got rolling. As always, trying to keep things short and sweet. And I have a new client coming in. So, we definitely need to do that today.
Very good.
My personal training business is growing. It's so exciting. I love training people in person. That's ideal for me. I'm in Minnesota. But I have worked with clients virtually as well. And I've been experimenting since late July as far as actually administering and taking the medication semaglutide, which is a type of GLP-1. So I think 9 weeks in, I'd have to like check the calendar for sure. And I put a 90-day container. So I started the experiment with some hypotheses, whatever that is, maybe doing some cycling between semaglutide and tirzepatide, which are two different GLP-1s. And then I decided to just stick with the semaglutide for a 90-day period. And then
Hmm.
after that, I am going to cycle off of it for a month and
Hmm.
see what happens. Do I
Sure.
have any weight gain, any negative kind of consequences from no longer taking the medication? That will be yet to be determined. And just to recap, like the first month, I was on, so I'm microdosing. This is really important. I am not on a standard dosing of these medications. If you were to qualify and go into your doctor, you would be put on 0.25 milligrams of semaglutide to start, and then they would ramp you up fairly quickly, all the way up, I believe, to 2.4 is the max. So like 10 times the starting dose, which is crazy in like
Right.
months, not like years. And I think, and based on the research and the courses and all the things that I've took in, taken in, uh, words, that's way too fast and way too much for the average person. All of the research has also pointed to the fact that if you're already metabolically fit and healthy, that it'll work the best. Although the medication can help you to balance all these hormones, leptin, ghrelin, insulin, in order to become metabolically sound as well. So there's like a couple of different ways that you can go about it. What happens
Sure.
on a healthy individual, what happens on somebody that wants to get healthy. So I'm your example, potentially, of somebody that was already healthy that wanted to go through the process in order to experiment on myself, see what this is all about. What are the positive and negative consequences, benefits, cons, all the things. So again, recapping is helpful for me as I'm processing the journey, as well as somebody that might be jumping in to this video, being the very first time that they're exposed to my journey with the weight loss medication, which is a peptide, more like hormone replacement therapy than it is like taking high blood pressure or high cholesterol medication. In my opinion and in my research, disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, can't prescribe, can't guide you on medications and recommend them to you, but I am training clients that are interested and are on them. So that's where I'm coming from. My microdose was zero point 0.1 milligrams of semaglutide starting that first 4 weeks. And then I doubled it because I wasn't seeing a lot of consequences, good or bad. So I went from
Hmm.
zero point 0.1 to zero point 0.2. Pretty sure I did that for 2 weeks. So weeks 5 and 6. And then I went down to 0.15, which was right in between because I had crushed my appetite. I was nauseous. I was having diarrhea. None of those fun things to talk about, but they were true. And then I went back down to zero point 0.1 for the last, I believe, 2 doses, or maybe even 3 that I've been on since then. So we could do the math and do the weeks, but basically 0.1 for a month, 0.2 for 2 weeks, 0.15 for a week, and then 0.1 again, which I think is like the minimum kind of dose. Like I could potentially step it down to 0.05, and maybe I will, but I'm feeling great at the moment. I've lost almost 15 pounds. I think 2 to 3% body fat. I feel like great in my skin, great in my body. I'm still strong. I'm lifting every day. My strength has probably decreased a little bit, although I'm in a phase of programming where I'm in higher reps too. So my weight naturally that I'm bench pressing or deadlifting or doing barbell squats would be lower, because when you do more reps, it's harder to
Mhm.
do a higher weight, right?
Yep. Right.
So that is the recap of where I've been. Like I feel like it's been a really good experiment because I've experienced the good and the bad and the ugly, and I've gotten the results that ultimately I was after in the first place, which was to decrease bloating and inflammation in my body. So that waist area is really where I've seen the inches come off, and
Hmm.
being able to fit into my clothes. It's kind of fun to reflect because I've been on like a journey around health and weight and all of that pretty much my whole life, right? Like a lot of women that we know. Um,
Sure.
One of the things that I've done over time is set goals in order to work towards it from a fitness perspective, but also like keeping weight in check. So I've ran a full marathon in 2012. I've ran several half marathons, not any recently. But then I went into bodybuilding and I competed on stage for the first time in May of 2018. And I bring that up because I'm about 4 pounds
Hmm.
from where I was when I stepped on stage the very first time,
Oh,
which
wow.
is kind of
Hmm.
crazy. And
Yeah.
only 9 pounds from my leanest, which was about a year ago exactly now. My body fat is higher, and I'm actually in my cycle right now. So I did lose my cycle last year when I got so lean. So I think that's also like a super positive affirmation that I'm going about it in a slow, steady, progressional way. And I'm not
Mhm.
feeling hungry. I'm not feeling like depleted, where I'm not, like you're just when you overtax your system because you're under consuming calories and you're demanding more on your body. Like I was working out probably 5, 6 days a week for an hour and a half at this point last year. And now I'm doing 6 days a week still, but it's like 20 minutes. I'm doing
Sure.
2 main lifts a day, no cardio.
Wow, that's crazy. So let's step back a moment if we can, just out of curiosity, because the last time we discussed this,
Yeah.
you'd been down about 10 pounds and were feeling pretty good. And that was probably the most transformational update that we had to that point.
Yeah.
Hearing the update now, you're saying that you've lost about 15, but
Hmm.
you also threw in, which I was not aware of, that you actually reduced the dose that you took.
Yeah.
And so why don't we dive in a little bit more on that? What was the logic behind that? Share what
Yeah.
you were thinking.
So again, that first month, like just wanted to start with the minimum, see what changes would take effect. And oftentimes it's the 60-day mark that the research supports. Like some people lose weight right away, but
Hmm.
also they might be obese, right? And they're on that higher dosage. I did
Hmm.
not see any change in that first month, and that's why I did the doubling. And then I felt the crushing appetite suppression and the nausea and the diarrhea. And I was like, this is my body telling me it doesn't like what's going on here, which is
Okay.
why then after a week I stepped it back down, and then I was still feeling some of those things, and it doesn't feel good to not want to eat at all. Um,
Sure. You alluded to that in the last call. You
yeah.
didn't really allude to some of the other side effects, so maybe they hadn't rolled in yet, but you alluded to the idea that you had to be aware to make sure you ate enough
And I
calories.
do still, because I'm not really hungry, but it's not that I feel turned off by the idea of food anymore, where it turns in your stomach like, oh, I have to eat.
Sure.
So that's great. And then really I'm being mindful. I'm not tracking still. And I'm actually okay with that because it feels more like intuitive eating, which is like the end goal for any dieter that
Sure.
has ever
Yeah.
had to track their food in the past. I'm
Yep.
focused on hitting hydration. I probably easily drink a gallon of water a day. I'm focused on whole foods. I'm focused on protein. I do supplementation with protein, so that technically wouldn't be whole foods. Meaning, like last night for dinner, I did have some steak. That's going to be a great source of real protein, right? And there's a lot of iron and other great things in beef as well, opposed to like chicken and fish and whatnot. But like right now, this is a protein smoothie, and I use very, very clean ingredients, but I use a whey protein powder that is grass fed. And then I use collagen, which is also a source of protein, and then creatine, which is helpful for muscle building. What else do I put in there? I put in there some for fat, chia seeds, a peanut butter powder, and that's organic.
What
And
do you
then
do to make it taste?
banana and spinach.
What do you do to make it taste worse? Because usually those things taste so good.
Oh my
Naturally,
gosh.
you have to make
Guess
them.
what happened? So yesterday, my power went out.
Yeah.
I had 4 clients on my schedule starting at 6 a.m. My first client was fine. Power went out halfway through my second client. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't make you your protein smoothie. And she was like, no, that's unacceptable. Like, I don't care that your power is out. Dump the ingredients in a cup. I will take it home and I will blend it. And so that's what
Okay.
I did for her. And that's what I did for the client after that because they love them so much. And all I did was find a recipe online, again, focused on whole food and clean ingredients as much as possible. So I do buy organic fruits and vegetables like that spinach and those bananas. And by the way, you can freeze spinach. So just like, those plastic
Sure.
containers that are like supposed to be better for the environment to limit the amount of waste and stuff like that. Probably a bag would work as well. I just pop that after I buy it into the freezer and then it lasts as long as I really need it to and just take them out, which also helps when you blend the smoothie because you don't need ice. I don't use ice at all. I just use frozen banana, which helps with some carbohydrates, but also the sweetness factor
Hmm.
and bringing that together. And then the spinach. And then what else makes it taste good probably is the protein powder is stevia sweetened.
Okay.
So it's more of a natural sweetener. It's not overly sweet by any means. It's chocolate flavor. And then I add cocoa powder too. So
Okay.
that's my delicious recipe that maybe I'll put in the comments of this little
Yep.
video.
That'd be a great idea. So peeling back, so we've gone from 10 pounds of loss to 15 pounds
Mhm.
during the course. So just putting it in chronological order here. So the 5 additional pounds happened with the lower dosage, or were you
Mhm.
still at higher dosage?
Yeah, and I actually have a follow-up with the doctor, the natural health medicine doctor today. And so I'll be curious to explore that a little bit with him too and see what his sense is based on how the medication works. Like, is it one of those things where it kind of has to build up in your system and then
Sure.
you start seeing those benefits and then those benefits continue to carry over even with like the lower dosage, right? So
Hmm.
I'm assuming that when I went up to the point 2, like I got those negative side effects, but then because I was stepping it down, there was like a carryover. I don't really want to lose any more weight from here. So I'll have to be cognizant again of hitting protein and calorie goals. But also I'm trying to see like where does my body naturally want to be? If I don't, if I eat healthy and I eat to my regular appetite, my body will sit between 155 and 160 pounds. I'm 5'9". I don't care for my body at that weight because it's probably a size bigger or two. And then also because I was chronically inflamed. And I think that steps back to gut issues. And GLP-1s have been found to heal gut microbiome. And I don't know enough about it to be able to really slay some great research and information your way. But it all makes sense that it ties together. If a
Have you,
lot of issues start in the gut and digestive system and your hormones being off, again, the ghrelin, the leptin, and the insulin, and the medication works somehow in order to heal those things, then it's just easier to get the results that you're looking for from the clean lifestyle that we all know does work in order to lose weight anyways.
so you brought up the gut biome and such. Have you been working in probiotics, or is that on the agenda? Is that on the plan?
No, I've done it in the past and I found some kind of conflicting opinions and research on it, especially from this one woman that I've taken like the really high-end course around GLP-1s from. She used to like be really into gut health and would help her clients. And this is me paraphrasing based on what I remember of like her explaining it. And she
Hmm.
would, eradicate all of the bad stuff and try and
Yep.
pump in the good stuff and realize that that didn't actually heal the issue. Like we need that balance and we need the variety, which is why variety in food is so helpful, why variety in germs is super helpful. And then she tied it into the COVID conversation and why we shouldn't be avoiding each other and shouldn't have been avoiding each other. And we're not going there anymore today, but it's interesting
But
nonetheless,
fair
right?
enough.
Because it's a
Yep.
big conversation right now. Gut health
Yep.
being the
Okay.
second
So
brain.
yep. So we're talking about your meeting with your checking in with your naturopath or your
Hmm.
natural physician.
Hmm.
What is our like for our next meeting when we talk, what is the roadmap here? What are we looking, what adjustments are we making and what are we looking to assess? And when
Yeah.
are we taking that pause or break, or I guess we're not into the 90-day window, we're 40 days into it or
Yeah,
so.
I would have to look for sure.
Oh no, you
But
said about 10 weeks in, so we're about 70. So yeah, we're getting close to that.
yeah, I think the
So,
next time that we talk, we should do it at the 90-day mark and just see what are the final results of the
okay.
initial experiment. I don't plan on changing the dosage from here, meaning that I'll stay at the point one, which is what I started with and which is kind of that minimum. And then my intention is to go off of it completely for 4 weeks. And so I think it would be great to either touch base at the 2 week in mark or a whole 4 weeks out from when I stopped the medication in the first place.
Okay, and then what additional changes are you expecting to make, or if you were to hypothesize right now, right? Uh,
Yeah.
what ex what additional changes or what are you expecting or hoping to see from between now and the 90 days?
I mean, I would be happy if I was just the same place that I am today, to tell you the truth. Like, I don't necessarily need to see any other benefits because I do feel like I have the mental acuity and clarity that I was searching for. Anxiety is a whole nother beast, and I feel like mental health is something that can positively be affected by this medication, but it's not really studied in that way right now, and so I'm somewhat separating that from the equation at the moment. The decreased inflammation and bloating was a huge thing. I'm sleeping fine. I have high energy. We're still really active. Yesterday, I had 15,000 steps in without going for a walk or anything, just based on my normal schedule. I really like my lifting schedule at the moment, where it's shortened and phasing to through the different like hypertrophy and different phases of muscle building and maintenance is really kind of where I am right now too. So
Well, okay, in the because we don't have a lot of time here.
yeah.
So if the expectation is to maintain kind of where you're at status quo, we'll call it
Mhm.
new status quo until the end of the 90 days, what are we then looking for, or what's the expectation? And we can revisit this next meeting.
Yeah.
What's the expectation of that 4 week break? Are you expecting to see some fall off, or are you expecting to stay status quo, or are you expecting to feel more bloated, or like what
Hopefully
is the
not.
answer
I
here?
mean, I would love for it to have like done its job healing because that's a big question that I get asked right now. Do you have to take this for the rest of your life? Are you going to take this for the rest of your life? What's your plan? I don't know, because I have to figure it out first with this experiment, right?
Yep.
So it would be great if I stopped it and then I noticed a healthy appetite and I did the lifestyle work to kind of pre-plan what it is that I want to be fueling my body with and making sure that that's all easily accessible, all the things that I would work with clients on, that my weight would not fluctuate, or if it did, it was a really, really small change, or possibly I would regain additional strength and be able to train harder, lift more weights is basically what that would be. But I think it'll just be a really interesting time to see how has my body changed? Is there
So,
any difference?
yep. So if you have
Especially with
status
the
quo,
hedonistic cravings, because I don't care about sugar right now. And that was a big pain point for Gina not that long ago.
sure. So if you have status quo
Uh-huh.
to the end, and then you do the 4 week experiment
Hmm.
of removing the stuff,
Yeah.
and let's just assume you have status quo at that point.
And I
Is
don't know. Do I go another month and see what
right,
happens? Maybe.
right. That's the question. So
Maybe I go 90 days and another 90 days if it continues on. So one of the people that I follow, a couple of interesting facts, and I know we'll wrap up in just a minute. But I'm part of this mentorship group where these trainers are training 50 people that are on GLP-1s, and I'm like a fly in the wall, so I get to see and hear about all of their experiences. And some of them have been on it for years, some of them are just starting it, and others are anywhere in between. But one of the people that was part of the call recently said that she has a client that's taking GLP-1, so she's also a trainer, and her client has dealt with foot fungus, like toenail fungus, for 25 years and has tried everything under the sun.
Okay.
GLP-1s is the only thing that's ever like solved it for her, which is
Hmm.
fascinating, right? So a lot of it has to do with like there's a lot of stuff coming out around autoimmune disorders and how it's helping to cure those.
Mhm.
One of the three coaches that's leading that cohort of 50 people, he has psoriasis. That's the term for the skin condition, right? Not the liver
Yep.
one. Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, it does it manifest itself in there, but
In
yes,
different ways. Okay,
yeah,
so he's got the skin issue of psoriasis and he's tried everything under the sun. And GLP-1s is the only thing that's helped him get it under control and keep it under control. And I believe he mentioned that he's going to maintain the dosage of 0.05, which is the one that I could step down even further to, which is like microscopic, right?
yeah, yeah.
And he'll do it forever because it helps him to keep that in check. And that's important to him.
It's just interesting that that wouldn't be naturally induced when it's that small. Like that you couldn't figure out how to tweak your diet or
Well, and we
lifestyle.
don't really know at that point if so one of the hypotheses that exists is that we have a GLP-1 deficiency in modern America, the way that we're living, the way that we're eating and moving and all of these things, right? Is that there's a deficiency because this is actually a hormone or a chemical that is produced naturally in
Right.
our system. And so
Yep.
by taking it, we're trying to offset the deficiency. So is there a point where your body heals and it takes over and you're able to not need to supplement anymore?
Right. Or is
Yeah,
there something you can start implementing in your lifestyle that then
to
or diet
continue on. Yeah,
that just
naturally.
yeah,
Yeah.
readjust. When you're talking, I know that you can't make huge moves necessarily, but when you're talking about such a small move, like, well,
Well, like a vitamin B deficiency, if you were to take like the shots of B12 and then you also did some other things in order to naturally get more B12, and I
oh,
don't know enough about that subject matter, but that's just like an example coming to
yeah,
mind.
like eating meats and things like that, you
Yeah,
know.
right. So you got
Yeah.
that initial help, that initial lift from
Hmm.
the supplement, and then you're able to do the lifestyle stuff. That's the hope. That's the dream. I'm wondering if there's a couple of different kind of parties that are going to be doing this work, right? And I'm on this healthy side, wanting to get even more healthy. And there's
Hmm.
people that are on the opposite side that are chronically obese and they're looking to not be obese. Well, what if, and this is happening with children at higher and higher percentages now, what if they've always been obese, right? So
Right.
is there likelihood that they'll have to continue it potentially forever? And is that really a bad thing if they're not living in an obese state, which is taxing
Well,
their system?
then we get to interesting like genome conversation of survival of what genes get passed on and why, and what transformations of the genes
Yeah.
happened, survived, and where we get to modern society relative to previous societies and what genes were good at a certain time
We
are
might have
not
to go back to
necessarily.
college. I don't know, become scientists. But I
Very
love
good.
that we can
Well,
be pseudoscientists in the meantime and like healthily. I feel like I'm healthily experimenting with something in order to get some desired results and a lot of contextual information that I can then share in this way and in others. Thank you guys for tuning in. Jason, I gotta go hop over and train another Jason, which is
yeah,
ironic and I love it. But thank you for your time and we'll see what happens at the 90-day mark. How about that?
looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.